There are some things that we can't explain, they just happened. And there are some things that we think we know how they happened, but we really don't. Building the pyramids is one such thing. For thousands of years, people have speculated about how the ancient Egyptians managed to build these massive structures, and over time, stories have grown up around them. Some people believe that slaves were forced into hard labor, and many died before the pyramids were finished. Others believe that aliens landed their ships nearby and used advanced technology to build the pyramids in just a few days. And yet others think that the pyramids were built by a highly advanced ancient civilization that possessed knowledge that was lost when the civilization collapsed. So how were the pyramids built? Well, we don't know for sure, but that hasn't stopped people from coming up with some pretty interesting theories. One of the most popular theories is that the pyramids were built by slaves. This theory is based on the fact that the pyramids are huge and it must have taken a lot of manpower to build them. It's also true that at the time the pyramids were being built, Egypt was ruled by a pharaoh, and the pharaohs were considered to be gods on earth. So it's not unreasonable to think that they would have had the power to force people into slavery in order to build the pyramids. However, there's no real evidence to support this theory. In fact, there's quite a bit of evidence that suggests that the people who built the pyramids weren't slaves at all. For example, archaeologists have found tombs near the pyramids that suggest that many of the workers were actually paid laborers who were treated fairly well. Additionally, the pyramids themselves are aligned with the cardinal directions and show signs of sophisticated engineering. It's unlikely that slaves would have been able to produce such an accurate structure. Instead, it's much more likely that the pyramids were built by a highly skilled workforce of architects, engineers, and laborers who were paid for their work. Another popular theory is that the pyramids were built by an ancient civilization that possessed knowledge that was lost when the civilization collapsed. Proponents of this theory believe that the pyramids are evidence of a highly advanced culture that existed long before modern humans. They point to the fact that the pyramids are perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions and contain secret passages and chambers that suggest a deep understanding of astronomy and engineering. However, there's no evidence to support this theory either. In fact, mainstream archaeologists have been able to explain all of the features of the pyramids without invoking the idea of a lost civilization. The alignment with the cardinal directions, for example, can be explained by simple observation of the stars. And the secret passages and chambers can be explained by the fact that the pyramids were used as tombs. As for the advanced engineering required to build the pyramids, there's no evidence that the ancient Egyptians needed any advanced technology to accomplish this feat. In fact, we have plenty of evidence that they were perfectly capable of designing and constructing incredibly complex structures without the aid of modern tools. Finally, let's talk about the alien theory. This is the idea that aliens landed their spaceships near the pyramids and used advanced technology to build the structures in just a few days. Proponents of this theory often cite the fact that the pyramids are so massive and perfectly aligned that they couldn't have been built by humans. But as we've already discussed, there's plenty of evidence that the pyramids could have been built by humans with the right planning and engineering. What's more, there's absolutely no evidence to support the idea that aliens were involved in their construction. In fact, the idea that aliens built the pyramids is nothing more than a fun science fiction story. There's no serious evidence to support it, and it's not in line with our understanding of physics or astronomy. For example, if aliens were able to build pyramids using advanced technology, why haven't they contacted us yet? Why are they still hiding their existence? And if they were able to build pyramids on Earth, why haven't they built similar structures on their own planets? The answer is that they probably didn't build the pyramids, and they certainly haven't built pyramids on their own planets because they are not real. So who built the pyramids? Well, like I said at the beginning, we don't know for sure, but we do know that they were built by humans. We also know that they weren't built by slaves or aliens. So that leaves us with one answer. They were built by a highly skilled workforce of architects, engineers, and laborers who were paid for their work. The Egyptians had a long history of building large structures, including temples, tombs, and palaces. Many of these structures were decorated with intricate carvings and paintings that depicted scenes from Egyptian mythology and daily life. But none of these structures were as ambitious as the pyramids. The pyramids were built during the Old Kingdom period of Egyptian history, which lasted from around 2680 to 2180 BC. During this time, Egypt was ruled by a series of pharaohs, each of whom was considered to be a god on earth. The pharaohs were responsible for maintaining order in the kingdom and ensuring the prosperity of their people. They also commissioned many of the great works of art and architecture that Egypt is famous for today. Building the pyramids was a massive undertaking that required a huge investment of resources. Each pyramid was made up of millions of stone blocks, each of which had to be quarried, transported, and lifted into place. It's estimated that it took about 20 years to build each pyramid, and that each one employed a workforce of around 10,000 people. The workforce was made up of a variety of different specialists, including architects, engineers, masons, carpenters, quarrymen, and laborers. The architects were responsible for designing the pyramids and overseeing their construction. They had to make sure that the pyramids were aligned with the cardinal directions and that they had the proper dimensions. The engineers were responsible for figuring out how to move the massive stone blocks and lift them into place. They also had to develop new tools and techniques to help the construction process go more smoothly. The masons were responsible for cutting and placing the stones. They had to make sure that the stones were fitted together tightly so that water couldn't seep into the pyramid and cause it to erode. The carpenters were responsible for building the scaffolding that the masons used to reach the higher levels of the pyramid. They also built the ramps and other structures that were used to move the stone blocks into position. The quarrymen were responsible for cutting down the trees that were used to build the pyramids. They also quarried the limestone and granite that made up the bulk of the pyramid structure. The laborers were responsible for hauling the stone blocks and other materials to the construction site. They also helped the masons and carpenters as needed. Working on the pyramids was dangerous work. People could be killed or injured by falling stones, or they could die of exhaustion or starvation. But despite the dangers, people still wanted to work on the pyramids. It was seen as an honor to be able to work on such a massive and impressive structure, and people were willing to put themselves in danger in order to participate in its construction. The pyramids are some of the most impressive structures ever built by human hands. They're a testament to the skill and dedication of the ancient Egyptians. While we may never know exactly how the pyramids were built, we can be grateful that we have these amazing structures to marvel at today. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please leave a comment below with your ideas for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.